For years, I suffered from knee pain that stole my peace of mind. It started as a simple discomfort, something I could ignore with a little rest. But over time, it became a constant presence. When I woke up, when I sat down, when I walked, even when I lay down, it was always there. They told me it was normal at my age, that it was part of aging, that I should get used to it. And for a while I tried. I lived with that pain, endured it in silence like so many do. I applied creams, took pills, tried supplements, but nothing gave me real relief. Everything seemed temporary, like a bandage that doesn't cover the wound. Until one day, unexpectedly, I found something different. A drink so simple that I had a hard time believing it could work. It wasn't an expensive medicine or a complicated treatment. It was natural, and it was right there in my kitchen. I tried it without many expectations. But on the third day, I felt something different when I got up. On the fifth day, I walked to the end of the hallway without stopping, without a cane, without pain. For the first time in years, I felt like I could live my life freely again. Today, I am 87 years old, and I'm here to tell you exactly what I did. Because if it hurts to walk, if your knees don't respond like before, if you feel like you've tried everything, maybe this can help you too. This is not a miracle video. I'm not here to promise magical cures. I'm here to share a real experience, with a result that I still find hard to believe. In this video, I will tell you my full story, and at the end, I will show you how you can prepare this drink at home, step by step. But before I start, I would like to know something about you. How old are you? And from where are you watching me? Leave me a comment. I would love to read it. Check how the pain began. The pain didn't come all at once. It settled quietly, like many things we don't want to accept. It started when I was about 72 years old. I remember the first warning, a slight discomfort when going down the stairs. Nothing serious, I thought. Just tiredness, maybe a minor twist. But I ignored it, as we often do with the signals our body gives us when we don't want to listen. Over time, that discomfort became more frequent. It hurt when I got out of bed. Then when I walked short distances, even when sitting for a long time. The pain was not constant, but it became easier to trigger. Something as simple as picking up a newspaper from the floor forced me to support my hand on the wall to keep balance. I felt clumsy, old, vulnerable. The worst was at night. I went to bed hoping rest would ease the discomfort, but the pain intensified. Every time I changed position, it was as if someone squeezed my knees hard from the inside. Sometimes I woke up in the middle of the night, unable to fall asleep again, counting the minutes until dawn. And the hardest part was knowing that the next day, everything would start again. During the day, I began to avoid movements I used to do without thinking. I no longer bent down to pick up anything in the kitchen. I started refusing invitations to walk in the park. I even stopped going out to the garden. I became slow, cautious, trapped in a routine revolving around pain. I depended more and more on others. If someone came to visit, I took the opportunity to ask them to bring me things from the market. If my daughter came by, I asked her to help move a chair, lift a box, clean places I couldn't reach anymore. Small things. But one by one, they took away my independence. And with that loss came frustration. I felt useless. I was angry at myself for not being able to do what I always did, and also angry at my body for failing me. Sometimes I thought maybe it was punishment for not taking better care of myself, or maybe it was just life, showing me that the years don't pass in vain. But what hurt me most wasn't the knees. It was the feeling that my world was shrinking, that every day I had less space to move, fewer things to do, fewer reasons to get up with enthusiasm. I lived with the pain and, worse still, with the idea that maybe this would be forever. Every morning began with a small punishment. As soon as I opened my eyes, I already knew the hardest moment of the day awaited me. Getting up. The knees seemed locked, stiff, as if they had rusted overnight. I had to sit at the edge of the bed, wait a few minutes, then push myself up with my arms. I always sighed, not out of relief, but resignation. Climbing stairs became torment. Every step was a test. I grabbed the railing with both hands, as if climbing a mountain. Sometimes when I reached the top, I had to sit to catch my breath. Not because I was tired, but because the pain was so intense my legs trembled. The strangest thing was how the weather became an invisible enemy. Humid or cold days brought deeper, sharper pain. It was as if the knees could predict rain better than any forecast. On those days, I barely moved. Everything hurt more, even lying down. Before, my life was very different. I was independent. I walked every day. I liked going out in the afternoons, going to the market, talking to neighbors, taking care of my plants. I was one of those who said age is in the mind. But over time, I began to understand that age also gets into the joints, that it's not all attitude, that when the body hurts, the willpower doesn't always reach. There was one day I won't forget. It was an ordinary afternoon. I bent down to pick up a towel from the floor, and when trying to get up, a sharp pain bent me completely. I lost balance and fell sideways. I hit my arm and hip. I stayed on the floor for several minutes, alone, unable to get up. That moment marked me. I felt fear of not being able to take care of myself anymore. That night I didn't sleep. My body hurt, but my soul hurt more. I stayed in bed staring at the ceiling, feeling defeated. The next day I went to the doctor hoping to find a solution. He listened carefully, examined my joints, ran some tests, and finally told me kindly, "It's natural wear and tear. At your age, it's normal. Continue with the painkillers." I left with the same old prescription, and with a thought pounding in my head. Is this all? Is this how it's going to be from now on? It wasn't just pain. It was losing my life, little by little. Seeing the days become slower, harder, smaller. Not by choice, but by limitation. And the hardest part of all was believing there was nothing left to do. Why medical treatments didn't work. After accepting that the pain wouldn't go away on its own, I did what most would do, follow medical advice to the letter. I started with the most common painkillers. They prescribed paracetamol, then ibuprofen, and later a stronger anti-inflammatory. At first it seemed like they helped. They didn't eliminate the pain, but they dulled it enough for me to move a little more. The problem was that over time, those medications stopped working. My body got used to them. What once relieved for a few hours barely made a difference now. And with every change in prescription came a list of side effects I couldn't ignore. My stomach started to suffer. Digestion became heavy. I even had episodes of dizziness. My daughter worried. She told me I was taking too many things for someone my age. I also tried creams and ointments, the kind they advertise as miracle cures for joints. I had them all in the bathroom drawer: menthol, arnica, capsaicin. Some relieved for a few minutes, but the effect disappeared as quickly as it came. Sometimes my skin burned more than it calmed the pain. It was like putting ice on a fire. The doctor recommended physiotherapy. For weeks I went twice a week to a nearby center. They made me do gentle exercises, applied heat, ultrasound. The staff was kind and professional, but when I left, the pain came back before I got home. Besides, paying for the sessions wasn't easy. Every month a good part of my pension went there, and honestly, I didn't feel it was worth it. Then came supplements: glucosamine, collagen, turmeric capsules. Some were very expensive. They sold them to me as the ultimate solution. But after several bottles and many days of waiting, I didn't feel better. Just more expenses, more frustration, and more doubts. The truth is, none of those options offered a real solution. They were just patches, temporary relief that didn't touch the root of the problem. My body kept hurting, and my mind began to resign itself. I remember a very clear consultation. After explaining everything I had tried, I asked the doctor if there was anything else I could do. He looked at me with some compassion, as if he had heard that question many times, and he said, "At your age, Mr. Manuel, you have to learn to live with this." That phrase hit me like a stone. Learn to live with the pain, as if it were an inevitable companion, as if it wasn't worth looking for another way. I left the consultation with a mixture of anger and sadness. Not because of the doctor, who was surely trying to be honest, but because I felt he had given up. And maybe I should give up too. But something inside me wouldn't settle. A rebellious part, perhaps childish, refused to accept that this would be my life forever. And it was that small spark that led me to look for another path. GAC. The search for natural solutions. After hearing that I had to learn to live with pain, I spent several days turning that phrase over and over in my head. I couldn't get it out. There was something about it that sounded like surrender, and I was never one to give up easily. So I decided to do what I always do when something doesn't make sense. Start looking for answers on my own. I started asking. Neighbors, friends, even acquaintances my age I saw in the square or at the pharmacy. Some recommended old remedies, warm leaves on the knee, coarse salt baths, rubbing with rosemary alcohol. I tried everything, without shame. If someone told me something worked for them, I tried it, because when pain is constant, you can't afford to rule anything out. I also started reading. I bought natural health magazines, marked pages, underlined advice. I got into internet forums, even though it was hard to understand how they worked. There I read hundreds of testimonies of people who said they improved thanks to alternative treatments, infusions, massages, diet changes. But for every positive testimony, there were others that said it didn't work for them. It was hard to know whom to trust. I tried ginger infusions, drinks with apple cider vinegar, even mixtures with baking soda. Some upset my stomach. Others did nothing. There were days I thought maybe I was wasting my time, clinging to illusions. But something told me I shouldn't stop. That among so many recipes and advice, there might be one that really made a difference. I remember one particular day, I was talking to Lucy, a lifelong neighbor. She is over 80 years old, but still walks upright as if she was 60. I asked her, half joking, what her secret was. She laughed and said, "It's not a secret, it's a habit. Every morning I prepare a drink my grandmother taught me. They drank it when their bones hurt, and there were no pills or doctors nearby." It caught my attention, so I asked for more details. She described the drink, natural, simple ingredients that anyone can have at home. She told me it wasn't a magical cure, but if taken consistently, results were felt. "Give it 5 days," she said. "If you don't notice anything, stop. But if it helps, you'll never want to quit." That night, I wrote down the ingredients on a piece of paper, and for the first time in a long time, I went to bed with a small spark of hope. Kiawe. The discovery of the natural drink. It was Lucy, my neighbor, who told me about that drink. A simple woman from the old times, with a face full of wrinkles but also wisdom. She told me while we shared a bench under the shade on an ordinary afternoon, without looking for it. We weren't talking about remedies or pain or medicine. We were just talking about life. And suddenly, seeing me move my legs with difficulty, she asked if my knees hurt. I said yes, like every day. She looked at me with that calm expression of those who have lived a long time and said, "Have you tried turmeric and ginger drink? My grandmother gave it to me when I was a child, and there was nothing else. I have never stopped taking it." I confessed I didn't believe much in those things, that I had tried everything, that mine came from years ago. But she just smiled. She didn't try to convince me, nor say it was a miracle solution. She only repeated the same. "Give it 5 days. If it doesn't help, you lose nothing." That night, I thought about it. I was tired, fed up with pills, tired of waking up afraid of the pain. And that simple, no-pressure proposal seemed different. 5 days? It didn't seem like a big bet. So the next day I went to the market. I bought fresh ginger, powdered turmeric, lemons, honey, and a pinch of black pepper, just as she told me. I came home with the bags full, but above all with something I hadn't felt in a long time: curiosity. I prepared the drink as she said. Boiled water, added the ingredients, let it rest, and strained it. The color was intense, the smell strong. It wasn't a pleasant drink at first glance. It seemed like one of those things you would drink out of obligation, not pleasure. I served it in a cup and sat at the table silently. I looked at it for a moment, wondering if it could really help me. I took the first sip carefully. The taste was peculiar, but not unpleasant. Spicy from the ginger, earthy from the turmeric, sour from the lemon, and with a touch of sweetness thanks to the honey. I didn't feel anything special that first day, neither relief nor discomfort, but it didn't upset me either. So I drank it the next day and the next. The routine became almost a ritual. Preparing it made me feel like I was doing something for myself, that I wasn't just waiting for the pain to dictate my life. I had no expectations. I didn't expect miracles. I just wanted to know if, at least, I could notice a difference. Something. A sign. And it was on the 4th day when I realized something was changing. But that, I'll tell you in the next part. What the drink contains and why it works. As the days passed, and after noticing the first changes in my body, I wanted to understand what made that drink so special. Why, after so many useless treatments, something as simple as a homemade infusion began to make a difference. The recipe Lucy gave me was not complicated. Its ingredients were humble, accessible, and most surprisingly, natural. But each one had a reason to be there. Each fulfilled a function in that little miracle that began to ease my knees. The first ingredient is ginger, a root that for centuries has been used in traditional medicine for its anti-inflammatory properties. Ginger contains compounds called gingerols, which help reduce joint inflammation and calm pain. I don't say this just from experience. Doctors and scientists have studied its effect on people with arthritis and found real improvements, especially in pain and morning stiffness. The second ingredient is turmeric, that yellow spice typical of Indian cuisine, which is actually much more than a seasoning. Its active compound, curcumin, is one of the most potent natural anti-inflammatories known. Several studies have shown its effect can be compared to some anti-inflammatory medications, but without the side effects. The curious thing is that for the body to better absorb curcumin, it must be accompanied by a bit of black pepper. That's why Lucy insisted so much that I not forget to add a pinch to the drink. Lemon, besides giving flavor, provides vitamin C, which is essential for keeping cartilage healthy and fighting oxidative damage that affects our joints over the years. Honey, on the other hand, not only softens the taste but also has antibacterial and soothing properties. And finally, hot water, which not only unites all the ingredients but also helps the body better absorb their benefits. When we drink something hot, we facilitate circulation, digestion, and nutrient transport. Now then, why can this combination work even better than some pills? The difference lies in how the body acts. Pills usually attack the symptom. They calm the pain, but don't always address the cause. In contrast, these natural ingredients work from the root. They reduce inflammation, improve circulation, protect cells, and strengthen tissues. And they do it without burdening the liver, without harming the stomach, and without side effects that can be dangerous in the long run. Many doctors today recognize the value of these ingredients. In fact, more and more studies confirming what popular wisdom has known for generations are published in medical journals, that natural things, well used, can be a powerful tool. Of course, it's not a magical cure. It doesn't work the same for everyone. But in my case, that simple mixture achieved what no pill had. It gave me back mobility and hope. And to think it all started with a conversation in a square. Hank. The first day I took the drink without expecting much. I thought it would be like all the other things I had tried. Another thing to cross off the list. However, I didn't feel any discomfort nor side effects. That was already a good sign. I repeated the same preparation the next day and the third, always at the same time, always with the same care. It was almost a small ritual. Between the first and third day, there were no miracles, but there was something subtle. I started to notice that mornings were a little more bearable. My knees still hurt, yes, but the stiffness I used to wake up with had lessened a bit. I got up more easily, without that first moan that came out almost automatically. It wasn't a big improvement, but for me, it was like seeing a crack of light in a room closed for years. The fourth day was different. I got up, sat at the edge of the bed and waited for that sharp pain that always came when I put my feet on the floor. But it didn't appear. I stood up faster, walked to the kitchen, and did it without stopping to lean on the wall. I couldn't believe it. I stopped halfway, looked back and asked myself, could it be working? That same day, going out to the patio, I decided to leave the cane resting by the door. Just a few steps, I told myself. But I ended up walking all around the garden. Slowly, yes, but without help. It was the first time in a long time I didn't feel my knees betraying me. It was as if, suddenly, my body had remembered what it was like to move without pain. The fifth day was the real turning point. I got up with energy. It had been a long time since I felt that drive to start the day. I dressed without rushing, walked down the hallway confidently. I even went down a small step without thinking twice. That afternoon, I went outside and walked around the block, without a cane, without stopping, without that shadow of pain that always accompanied me. The excitement I felt was hard to explain. It was a mix of joy, surprise, but also skepticism. I wondered if it was temporary, if the next day everything would go back to how it was before. But part of me had no doubts. Something was changing, and that small hope, which at first was barely a spark, had turned into a flame. I didn't rush to tell anyone. I wanted to wait, observe, see if it lasted. But inside, I felt a certainty I hadn't experienced in a long time. It wasn't a miracle cure, nor a definitive solution, but it was a step, a real step toward a life without pain. And that, at my age, is an immense gift. Drink. We've reached the moment many were waiting for. If you have listened to my story so far, you already know this drink is not a miracle remedy, but it is a powerful tool. And now I want to share with you exactly how to prepare it, step by step. You don't need to be a cook, nor have special instruments, nor spend a lot of money. You just need consistency and respect for your health. That's all. Basic ingredients: 1 teaspoon of powdered turmeric or a small fresh grated root, 1 teaspoon of grated or powdered ginger, the juice of half a fresh lemon, 1 teaspoon of pure honey, optional if you want a sweet touch, a very small pinch of ground black pepper, 2 cups of filtered water. Preparation: put the water in a small pot and heat it until it starts boiling. Add the ginger and turmeric. If you use the fresh versions, even better, but powder also works well. Reduce the heat and let it simmer on low for about 8 to 10 minutes. Remove from heat and let it rest for 2 minutes. Strain the mixture to remove solid residues. Add the lemon juice, honey, and the pinch of black pepper. Mix well. And that's it. Your drink is ready. The color will be an intense golden, and the aroma strong but comforting. When to drink it? Ideally, drink 1 cup in the morning on an empty stomach, and another cup in the afternoon between meals. Avoid drinking it right before bed if you are sensitive to hot drinks at night. And remember, the key is regularity. It's not enough to drink it one day yes, another no. It has to be part of your daily routine. How to store it? If you prefer not to prepare everything from scratch every day, you can make a larger amount. Keep the liquid in a glass bottle in the refrigerator for a maximum of 2 days. Just make sure to warm it up before drinking, without boiling it again, so as not to lose its properties. Can it be adapted? Yes. If you are diabetic and cannot use honey, you can omit it without problem. If the taste is very strong, you can add some mint leaves or a little more lemon. Some even mix it with a bit of cinnamon, which also has anti-inflammatory properties. The important thing is not to change the base: ginger, turmeric, pepper, and lemon. Those are the pillars, and each one fulfills a function. Remember, you don't need to spend fortunes on imported supplements, nor depend on hard-to-get products. Health sometimes begins in your own kitchen. All it takes is commitment and a pinch of patience. This drink gave me back mobility and hope. And if you decide to try it too, I wholeheartedly wish it brings you the same relief it gave me. I want to finish this video with something very important. I'm not promising miracles. That would be irresponsible. There is no magic remedy that works for everyone, and each body has its own rhythm, its own wounds, its own struggles. But I am telling you my experience, sincere, without embellishments, because I know what it is to live with pain. I know what it is to feel the days grow long, not because of time, but because of the weight you carry every time you move. And I also know that sometimes a small decision can make a big difference. I lived for years believing there was nothing left to do, that at my age, the only thing left was to endure. But that belief hurt me more than the physical pain, because when you lose hope, you start giving up without even realizing it. And today, I want to tell you something from the bottom of my heart. You are not condemned to suffering. It doesn't matter if you are 70, 80, or 90 years old. There is always something you can try, and many times, the solution is not in the most expensive or the newest, but in the simplest, in what is passed down from generation to generation, in what comes from the earth and is prepared in a cup. That's why my advice is this: try it for 5 days, nothing more. You don't need blind faith nor big changes, just the decision to give yourself a chance. Prepare the drink as I explained. Drink it every day calmly. Observe how your body responds. Listen carefully. And if after those 5 days you notice something, even if minimal, then you have already taken a step. Because relief, even if small, is the beginning of something bigger. Regaining your life, your spirit, your desire to move and smile. I am not a doctor, nor a scientist. I'm just someone who found relief when I no longer expected to find it. And if this video helps just one more person get up without pain one morning, then it will have been worth it. Now I invite you to something. Have you tried any natural drink that surprised you? Tell me about it in the comments. I would love to read your story. And if you decide to try this drink, come back here in 5 days and tell me how it went. I want to know. I want this to be not just a video, but a bridge between people who help each other, who share what works, who don't give up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want more advice like this, and share this video with someone who is also looking for relief. Maybe today you are giving them a new hope. Thank you for staying until the end. I send you a big hug wherever you are.